LA County supervisors have passed an emergency declaration over recent immigration raids.
America, Los Angeles County just declared a state of emergency over ICE raids, claiming they need emergency powers to help struggling families and businesses. They're talking about using taxpayer money for rent relief, legal aid, and food assistance for people who entered our country illegally. But here's what they're not telling you about this so-called emergency. This isn't about helping families. This is about forcing American taxpayers to subsidize the collapse of businesses that were built on exploiting illegal labor. When your entire business model depends on paying people under the table and ICE shows up to enforce the law, suddenly it's an emergency that requires taxpayer bailouts.
State of emergency declared in LA County in response to the federal immigration raids still happening today. County supervisors say the declaration can provide funds for families impacted.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story perfectly exposes the hypocrisy of California's leadership and reveals the dirty secret about businesses that are struggling because of immigration enforcement. When your business collapses, when you can't exploit illegal workers, maybe your business model was the problem all along. Let me break down this absolute joke of an emergency declaration because the numbers don't seem to add up and the logic is completely backwards. LA County supervisors voted 4-1 to declare a local emergency over ICE raids, claiming it gives them power to move faster in bringing state and outside help.
LA County is declaring a local emergency over those ICE raids that have been happening since June. The Board of Supervisors voted 4-1 yesterday, saying the raids are leaving thousands of families in financial crisis.
But wait a minute. Wait a minute. These are people who entered our country illegally. Why is it California's taxpayers' responsibility to bail them out when federal law enforcement does its job?
The declaration lets the county move faster, bringing in state money and outside help for rent relief, legal aid, and even food assistance.
A large fiscal impact, and we've yet to know all of that yet, but it is having an impact.
Supervisor Catherine Barger was the only one with any sense voting no and questioning if this emergency declaration really changes anything or it just invites potential lawsuits from the Trump administration. At least somebody understands that declaring fake emergencies to obstruct federal law enforcement might have some consequences.
County supervisors say the declaration can provide funds for families impacted, but many still have questions about the specifics.
Officials voting here yesterday in order to declare that state of emergency for all of LA County. They say it'll help those who are struggling with those ongoing immigration raids.
Now let's talk about what's really happening to these so-called struggling businesses, because the truth is uncomfortable for California's leadership. When ICE shows up and your business suddenly can't function, that tells me one thing, that your entire operation was built on exploiting illegal labor and people who entered the country illegally.
CBS LA is dedicated to following how ongoing immigration actions are impacting local communities.
And our Lauren Posen went to East LA and Boyle Heights, where business owners say they've taken a hit since the raids began.
Look at this music store owner, Mario Reyes, whose family's been selling records since 1964. He says, me and my old man were thinking about closing. We're pretty much closed. But listen to his explanation. It's just that people haven't been coming out. They're scared, you know?
Reyes and his wife are not worried about competition from streaming or online sales. It's the immigration raids.
It's just people haven't been coming out. They're scared, you know, and I mean, I don't blame them because majority of our customers are all Hispanics.
No, I'm not saying all Hispanic customers are illegal immigrants, but when your entire business model collapses because people are afraid of immigration enforcement, that raises some serious questions about who you've been serving and how they've been paying you.
Even deep discounts aren't enough to bring customers into silver and silver jewelry with the fear of agents nearby.
He said it wasn't like this. If you come at 5 o'clock, people walking with their kids. Now nobody's walking.
Look at this business owner, Martel Moreno.
Melchor Moreno says business at his restaurant La Chispa de Oro hasn't been the same since the raid started.
My workers get a phone call or a text saying that they're here. And most of the time it's not even true, and it just makes people panic more.
Think about that for a second. His workers are getting panic calls about ICE raids. Why would legal workers panic about immigration enforcement? The question is obvious: because they're not legal workers. This restaurant owner just admitted on camera that his staff is so worried about ICE that they panic at rumors.
An immigration attorney says there's a domino effect from the raids rippling through the communities.
Not only are people not taking their children to school, but they're not taking them to any other needs where they have to pay, and that boosts the economy.
An immigration attorney says there's a domino effect where people aren't taking their children to school or spending money on needs. But here's my question, guys. If these are legal residents, why would they stop taking their kids to school because of immigration enforcement? The only reason you avoid normal activities during immigration raids is if you are, get this, illegal. Now here's where it gets really infuriating. California wants to use taxpayer money to bail out businesses whose entire business model was based on exploiting illegal labor, and they're calling it rent relief and food assistance. You cannot make this stuff up. But what it really is corporate welfare for companies that broke federal law.
The raids have affected us financially. Many of us have lost our jobs.
In the new emergency proclamation, a survey is cited claiming a 62% drop in average weekly earnings for immigrants.
We have entire families who are destitute because their fathers or mothers were taken from their workplaces and they have no way to pay their rent or put food on the table.
They're citing a survey claiming a 62% drop in average weekly earnings for immigrants. But notice, they don't distinguish between legal and illegal immigrants. When people get arrested at their workplaces by ICE, that is not random. That is targeted enforcement against people who shouldn't be working here in the first place.
Now we are hearing reports that ICE, or Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is reacting to this new state of emergency, saying that the Board of Supervisors should instead be praising the work that they do in our area.
ICE responded perfectly, saying the Board of Supervisors should be praising the work that they do instead of declaring fake emergencies. When federal agents are doing their job enforcing immigration law, the local politicians declare it an emergency. That tells you everything you need to know about where their priorities lie. This is what happens when you have the worst leadership in America. California has some of the most incompetent politicians in the country. And I'm not just talking about Governor Gavin Newsom. Look at the local leadership. These are the same people who let people literally crap on the streets of San Francisco and Los Angeles.
And in Los Angeles, a state of emergency declared over the raids, allowing officials to offer rent relief to immigrants who are not going to work out of fear, and also small businesses impacted by the raids.
They declare emergencies for illegal immigrants, but they can't solve homelessness, drug addiction, or basic sanitation. California has the highest poverty rate in America when you adjust for the cost of living, but they want to spend taxpayer money on bailing out businesses that exploited illegal labor. Besides Mayor Brandon Mohawk Johnson in Chicago, California has some of the worst leadership in America. These are people who prioritize illegal immigrants over American citizens, who let criminals run wild on the streets, who think the solution to every problem is more taxpayer money.
Homeland Security officials say an undocumented immigrant inside this vehicle tried to flee from arrest, ramming into a Border Patrol vehicle and triggering a pursuit. Agents purposely crashing into the SUV to stop it. Two people then fled on foot.
Look at what happened in Chicago. An undocumented immigrant rammed into a Border Patrol vehicle trying to flee arrest, then crowds threw objects at federal agents. This is the chaos that California's leadership wants to protect and subsidize with taxpayer money. Let me give you the hard truth about these quote-unquote struggling businesses. If your business model depends on paying people under the table, avoid paying payroll taxes, ignores labor laws, and exploits workers who can't complain to authorities, then your business deserves to fail.
For these small business owners, it's not just about staying open. It's about holding on to the community they've spent a lifetime building.
It's my husband's, heart and soul. I mean, it would be devastating to him for us to lose this.
I understand these business owners have emotional attachments to their operations, but you know what? Law-abiding business owners who pay proper wages, follow labor laws, and hire legal workers are also struggling. The difference is they're not getting taxpayer bailouts when they follow the rules. When legitimate businesses compete against operations that exploit illegal labor, they're at a massive disadvantage. Illegal workers can be paid below minimum wage wage, don't ask for any benefits, don't file workers' compensation claims, and don't report unsafe working conditions. That's not fair competition. That is exploitation.
A similar scene is playing out in nearby Boyle Heights.
This is not the normal rush hour. There's a few tables right now, but yeah, normally it's kind of busy.
Here's what California's leadership didn't expect. Landlords are pushing back against this emergency declaration because they're worried it could lead to another eviction moratorium like during C-19, and they have absolutely every right to be concerned.
However, some landlords are pushing back this morning. They're worried this could lead to another eviction moratorium like during the pandemic.
All you have to do is go downtown and see the flower district, the fashion district, and other places, they're vacant. People are losing jobs.
One landlord said this: these people got destroyed during the C-19 lockdowns, and now they're facing the same threat again.
I rely on my ownership at a small apartment building in Long Beach to pay my bills. Your previous COVID eviction moratorium went on for many years. I had to stop renting. I couldn't afford the court battles.
Una moratoria de renta.
And so it's important that there is an eviction moratorium.
Porque esto está a favor de los dueños.
Because this is all in favor of the landlords.
So regular Americans, landlords who followed the rules, paid their taxes, and provided housing might have to flip the bill to shelter illegal immigrants and their families because California politicians made bad choices. How is that fair to American citizens? You want to know how to solve this quote-unquote emergency? It's simple. Let ICE do their job. When people who enter the country illegally get deported, that creates job opportunities for legal workers. When businesses can't exploit illegal labor, they have to pay competitive wages to legal workers.
A crowd at the scene growing hostile, throwing objects, agents firing tear gas. Border Patrol officials saying this incident is not isolated and reflects a growing and dangerous trend of illegal aliens violently resisting arrest and agitators and criminals ramming cars into our law enforcement officers.
When people are ramming cars into federal agents and crowds are throwing objects at law enforcement, that is not a humanitarian crisis. That is criminal behavior that needs consequences. The real emergency isn't ICE raids. The real emergency is that California leadership has created a system where illegal immigration is subsidized by taxpayers while legal immigration and American workers get screwed. That's not compassion, that's corruption.
And Homeland Security officials say Mexican cartels now are attempting to track, harass, and target immigration and Border Patrol agents. The department warning cartels are offering $2,000 for gathering intelligence on federal officials and their families, $5,000 to $10,000 for kidnapping or non-lethal assaults, and up to $50,000 for the assassination of high-ranking officials.
Meanwhile, Mexican cartels are offering $50,000 to assassinate federal immigration officers. So while California declares fake emergencies to protect illegal immigrants, cartels are literally putting bounties on the heads of American law enforcement. Where are California's priorities? America, this fake emergency declaration exposes everything wrong with California's leadership. They'll spend taxpayer money to bail out businesses built on illegal labor, but they won't fix homelessness, crime, or basic infrastructure. They'll protect people who entered our country illegally, but they'll let American citizens get robbed, assaulted, and forced to step over human waste on sidewalks. When your business model depends on exploiting illegal laborers and ICE enforcement causes your business to collapse, that's not an emergency, that's justice. American taxpayers shouldn't have to subsidize businesses that broke federal law by hiring illegal hombres. The real victims here aren't the businesses losing their cheap labor, it's the American workers who couldn't compete against the exploitation, the legal immigrants who followed the rules, and the taxpayers who are now being forced to pay for California's bad decisions. This is what happens when you elect leaders who care more about virtue signaling than protecting American citizens. California's emergency declaration isn't about helping families. It's about protecting a corrupt system that benefits politicians and businesses at the expense to everyone else. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.